But this stuff is the powdered form of BT that kills caterpillars. Every few days, go out and just dust some of this right in the center where your squash plants are coming up. This won't hurt your bees, won't hurt you, won't hurt anything except caterpillars. And if you keep the little centers of the plant, the squash vine borer is usually going to be in the first 18 inches of the stem. Keep dusting your mounds with this and you won't have any squash vine borers. The other thing is on some squash is going to be bush and stays much closer to the center. Some of it really vines out. If you've got a long vining squash, go out about 2 feet, put a shovel full of dirt over the stem. It'll form roots that go down into the ground. Then if the squash vine borer wipes out this part of the stem, the vine will keep on growing. You'll still get squash. The squash vine borers are one of 2 bugs that get after squash. The other is the squash bug itself. That's a stink bug, but that's kind of what a squash bug looks like. And you'll see these guys early in the season when your squash is just getting ready to start making fruit. They hate water. You go along, you're watering over the top of your squash, you'll see these guys come running up to the top of the leaves and things like that. They're slow and stupid, and you get them like this just about every time. But try, if you start seeing these guys, try to eliminate them before they start laying eggs. You will see the eggs if they lay them. They'll be in a cluster, normally about this big around. There'll be about 50 or 100 eggs that look like little brown BBs. If you see that, tear that little piece of leaf out and dispose of it. Because once they hatch out, you'll get literally dozens, if not hundreds, of little immature squash bugs about this big that'll get all over the fruit and can do severe damage to it. If you get a bunch of them started, you can dust your fruit with this. It won't hurt you, it'll get the squash bugs. But I find if you go after the adult squash bug, not the vine borer, but the adult squash bugs that show up early in the season, you will have very few squash bugs on your squash later. Yes, sir.
I had grown squash, yellow and zucchini adjacent to each other. And later in the season, this past summer, yellow squash looked like it mutated. It got green bumps.
Yeah, it's a virus. It has nothing to do with the zucchini being close by. A lot of squash does get a virus, and you'll get some real odd coloration, sometimes some odd growth. Doesn't hurt you to eat it. It's totally non-toxic to you, but that's an insect spread virus. Just ignore it. You probably won't have it next year.
All right, with very, very large leaves on plants, you soon run out of space, even though you originally allowed for it.
Yeah.
So to harvest, you find yourself stepping on the plants, stepping on the leaves, and so forth. Do you ever stake those? Of course, they only run about so far.
Yeah.
Mine did.
I never have, but I've seen creative people, not so much with squash, but with melons, that would grow cantaloupes on a fence. And everywhere the little cantaloupe started to grow, they'd either take a piece of lady's hose and make a little sling for it, or put a little platform underneath it. Those are retired gardeners that have a lot more time than I do. I've got more space than I've got time, so I just let them spread. I've never known anybody growing that kind of squash.
Do you ever thin the leaves on a given plant to allow more sunshine on the fruit?
No, because I worry about sunburn on the fruit. Tomatoes and squash both. If they're used to being in the shade and you take away their protection, they'll sunburn. They will literally fry. I get it. I end up going like this to find the squash, and half the time I'll miss one, and 3 days later I find a squash that's this long. But the cows like it. I just throw it over the fence and let them eat it.
Deer like it also.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to show you one piece of equipment, another way for you to spend some money if you want to save your back, but invest a bunch of money, and then we'll talk about another thing, because I know some people always have to get up and go off to soccer mom practice or whatever else. This is one of the most expensive tools you will buy, because nobody makes them in the United States anymore. They all seem to come from, this one comes from Switzerland. And I don't know why we can't get smart. Some of you people that are friends with Mr. Obama, tell him we need some good American industry people to make these things. This is called a push-pull hoe. And it also called a stirrup hoe because it looks something like a stirrup. This is the most useful weed controller you will have in any garden. And again, Mother's Day is coming up or Easter's coming up. Ask somebody to spend $60 and give you one as a present. But yeah. I've got one that I've been using for 10 years, so I figure it costs me $6 a year. And I've had to put one new handle on it. But you go along, and when you push it cuts, when you pull it cuts. And I can go down a whole row of plants, you know, doing this, and I can totally, excuse me, didn't mean to hit you with a pebble. I can do a 30-foot row in, you know, less than 5 minutes with one of these things. And you can reach, I use it to reach up under the blackberries, you know, and do this and get the weeds out. Most useful thing you will ever find. And again, I wish we could find a decent American-made one so they weren't so expensive, but with the exchange rate and everything else, the damn things are expensive. But anybody that's ever used one of these things, you will love them. We had a customer for years, unfortunately he's passed away now, but Marvin tried one of these things, and every time we had our Mother's Day party or a Christmas open house or something, he would come in and he would take up a station next to these things. And it's like this guy, everybody that walked by, do you know about this hole? This saved my back. Do you know about this hole? It saved my back. Anyway, just another real useful tool to have in the garden. And let me tell you, if you're looking for the best book out there on organic gardening, it's this one that Howard Garrett and Malcolm Beck wrote. It's something that I think everybody that's interested in gardening should have a copy of this. And if you want to, this is a great book too. Bugs, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Just a great book with lots of good stories and lots of good information. It's another thing to, at some point, put on your garden bookshelf. I consider those two books really, really important for anybody who wants to grow a real good vegetable garden. Okay. Yes?
When are you going to get some mycorrhizal fungi?
Hopefully in a week or so. Yeah. Yes?
The assassin bugs,
Uh-huh.
are those good?
Assassin bugs are good. Assassin bugs eat aphids and a lot of other insects that they can catch.
Now, do they attach themselves to stressed out plants too? Like, now, are these the ones that are like black legs, red body?
Okay, now they are, there is a bad bug that's an immature stink bug that looks a lot like an assassin bug. Look at the back legs. Check out the legs. If the legs are flattened, immature stink bug, get rid of it. If the legs are round, probably an assassin bug, probably a good guy. Okay, I want to go on a couple of things. Yes, sir.
Grubs. What do you recommend to...
To eliminate grub worms, get beneficial nematodes. Totally safe, best control in the world for grubs. Very, very effective. Come on a little blue sponge, soak that in water for 5 minutes, and then spray, just spray the water out.
When do you do that?
Whenever you see June bugs. Because June bugs are the adult stage of the grub worm. And now if you find a bunch of grubs when you're digging around, y'all put them out then. But when you see June bugs, that's the sign that, that grubs are about to be there. I'll tell you about one other product that we're going to talk about beans and peas and okra and eggplant and a couple other things. There's an interesting new product on the market, and plants do not have an immune system the way that people and animals do. Plants can't detect a problem and start building T cells and killer cells and increased white cells. They don't have that kind of immune system. But plants can do what we call an immune response. A plant has a way of sensing if it is under attack by insects, you're welcome, by insects or by diseases. And when that happens, the plant sort of kicks into high gear. Its photosynthetic rate goes up, it makes more sugars, it blooms more, it produces more fruit. Because like it or not, I mean, plants don't grow to please us. The purpose of flowers and fruit is to reproduce. That's what it's all about. And if a plant feels like it is stressed, it many times will produce more fruit faster just in an effort to make seed, because something tells it, hey, you're about to either be eaten or die from something or other. You better make some seed to perpetuate yourself. Some clever scientist somewhere along the way figured out a way to fool plants. And I know it's not nice to fool Mother Nature, but they made this product called Messenger, and it's made from 2 or 3 plant diseases, and I think they maybe use some insect parts in it, unlike chili. Insect parts are good things in this sense. But you spray this stuff on the plant senses that it's under attack, and in many cases it starts growing more vigorously and producing more fruit. It's new. A lot of people have tried it and liked it real well. I haven't used enough to comment on it, but I've had enough good reports we are carrying it. It's called Messenger because it literally sends a message to the plant that it's under attack, but it's not. It just thinks it is, and that's how it responds. Okay, beans. everybody should grow beans if you like beans. But there are two basic ways that beans grow. We have what we call bush beans, and we have what we call pole beans. And by the way, the peas that we grow in the summer months, the black eyes, the purple hulls, the cow peas, things like that, those are actually beans. It's too late in the season to grow snow peas or shelled green peas. We'll talk about those when we do a fall vegetable gardening seminar. But you can either plant bush beans or you can plant pole beans.